I have always wanted to be a scientist, ever since I was 6 years old. When I was a student, I was considered a slow learner. In fact, my father and mother were ashamed of me because I could not speak properly, and I had to repeat the first grade because I spoke too much during class. It was during the time that my family moved from Germany to Italy that I started to think for myself. I hated the blind obedience expected of students. I questioned everything. Soon I was expelled from school. When I was 14, I started to study physics at the Swiss Federal Polytechnic. Although I had some success, I failed my final exams because I did not do all the required experiments. This made me very sad. For several years, I worked as a patent clerk in Bern, Switzerland. It was extremely boring, but I used my free time to think about physics. During this period, I developed my theory of special relativity. Overnight, I became famous. Professors and students from all over Europe came to visit me. I gave lectures and published papers. Everyone wanted a piece of the newfound genius. In 1914, World War I broke out. As a pacifist, I was against the war, but being a scientist, I realized the practical applications of what I had invented. I felt guilty. Later, I became an American citizen. When World War II began, I urged President Roosevelt to develop the atomic bomb before the Germans. 3 days after I signed the letter, Pearl Harbor was attacked. Soon, the United States was at war. Although many people benefited from my work, I continued to be a pacifist. After the war, I spoke out against the development of even more powerful weapons. Near the end of my life, I said, I know not everything that I once believed in so confidently is now doubted or has been proved wrong. But one should not cling to one's opinions the opinions which we hold most deeply are in the end, but the opinions of other people which we have adopted. I hope that my life may serve as an example to those who are different. I am a living example that you can achieve your dreams if you only try hard enough. Albert Einstein, one of the greatest scientists of our time. This is the genius who changed the world. No. Not that guy. This is Albert Einstein, the man who changed our understanding of the universe. But this isn't his story. That's his story. I want to tell you the story of the man behind the myth. When he was 4, his family moved to Italy. When he was 6, he began attending school in Florence, but he soon became known as the class rebel. At 12, his father gave him a book about space, and from then on, he began having doubts about everything he had been taught. By the time he was 18, he was so far ahead of his classes that the teachers had nothing left to teach him, so they simply expelled him from school. With no qualifications, no one would hire him, so he spent his days wandering the streets, playing violin, and working odd jobs. He was beginning to think that his life was over. But then at 22, he got a job working in a patent office. It wasn't much, but it was enough for him to survive and have enough time to think. And that's when he began working on his most famous theory of special relativity. In short, it says that space and time intertwined in a four-dimensional fabric are relative to the observer. Basically, if you're on a train that's moving at a constant speed, time is passing normally. But if you were to accelerate or decelerate, time would slow down relative to someone who was standing still. That sounds pretty crazy, right? Well, it goes against everything we experience with our senses. But he was so sure that he was right, that he wrote an article about it and sent it to a scientific journal. They didn't know what to do with it. They had never seen anything like it before. There was no accepted theory of space and time. Suddenly, they realized that this was a discovery that could change the world. And that's exactly what happened. He became famous overnight. People were calling him the eighth wonder of the world, but he hated all the attention. He was a pacifist and a humanitarian who believed in peace and equality for all people. Yet the work he had done on the theory of relativity was being used to develop weapons of mass destruction. He tried to speak out against it, but people just didn't listen. They called him crazy. They said that he should be grateful for what he had done for humanity, but he knew that he had given them the tools to end all human life. He spent the last 30 years of his life trying to make up for it. He worked tirelessly to promote world peace and human rights. He might have been the most brilliant scientist of his generation, but he was also just a man who cared about other people. That's the story of Albert Einstein, the man who changed our understanding of the universe. If you liked this video, you'll love this one. See you next time.